Hello and welcome to another episode of the SBK Betting Podcast. I'm Adam Baylis, as ever, joined by Mr. Tom Collins and Mr. Ross Millar. Now, Jess Stafford was slated to join us today. Unfortunately, she's been taken ill, so we wish her the very, very best. Back in rude health for Christmas with lots of racing to come. As ever, TC, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm very good. Jess would have been a 101 to host this podcast, and I'm pretty sure people think Allaho was a 101 to win the King George. But this Christmas period always throws up shocks. You're in the hot seat. I don't think Allaho wins either.
Excellent. And Ross, we'll talk about the outfit shortly, but how are you, my friend?
I'm in good order, thanks, Adam. Yeah, two kids under the age of 10, so Christmas festive spirit is raring to go.
Love it. Absolutely love to hear it. Right. So we're gonna crack on and look at this weekend's racing. I mean, it's the most unbelievable couple of weeks of racing. I saw a post going around on social media during the week of just like every race by race on Boxing Day. I'm very much looking forward to dissecting that with you guys on a different pod. But we've got the kind of the Moose Bouche here first with the long walk hurdle. Have I pronounced that right? Moose Bouche. Ross, I'll let you critique me.
Sounds good to me, Adam. Go Excellent. With it.
Yeah, we'll go with it. We've got the long walk hurdle at Ascot, and there's other bits and bobs going on at Haydock where there's a Tommy Whittle, and for TC there's always some fantastic action on the all weather at Lingfield. Let's go first to Ascot then and talk about the long walk hurdle. I'll pass over to you, Ross, to take us through the race and who you fancy.
Well, I think Crimbo, or Crambo as he's better known, is probably the right favourite for all that he's probably got £10 to find at the weights. He didn't get a great passage through at Haydock in what they call the Stayers Championship. I refer to it still as the fixed brush. I'm sorry to see Conor Brace lose the ride. I thought that was a shame. I think these young lads only learn by your mistakes. So certainly, when I was competing, I learned a lot more on the days where it didn't go wrong than the days it did go well. So I think he is a promising horse, but he's short enough in the betting, as is West Balboa, really. She's won handicaps over this trip, but she's quite a free-going mare, and I just wonder whether a proper gruel at Ascot is what she wants. And then you're into the old boys brigade, aren't you, which are great to see. Champ, Paisley Park, Dash or Drasher. I mean, they've been around forever, and they've contested these races between them, and they will set a standard, but whether they're quite where you want to be putting your money, I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong, if one of those wins, it'll be brilliant for me. I just love seeing them come out and do it. But as a betting proposition, they weren't for me. Crambo and West Balboa I thought were a bit short, so I've gone 2 each way. Just I think they're 2 bigger prices. So Red Risk is the first, Bryony Foster. I think she's back riding with a real vengeance. Been brilliant the last couple of weeks. He was just a length behind Botox Has at Wetherby in the Yorkshire hurdle. Okay, he was getting £4, but he got trapped quite wide on the bend. That probably didn't help his cause, and he was finishing best of all. So this stiffer track might well suit him. I still think he's unexposed as well. Botox Has is 7-1. He's 25-1. I just thought that was too big a disparity for a horse that is perhaps finding his feet now. And then the other one is Gal Road, who ran a mighty race at Haydock. Finished just behind Crambo, giving him £1. So there wasn't much between them there. Crambo 11-4, Gal Road 33-1. He's got good course for me. He's only been to Ascot once and he won convincingly. I think he blew up at Haydock, going to sort of the second last, and then rallied again. He was off for virtually, over a year. If that race has brought him forward, I think he's got a great chance on this stiffer track in a race where, it's hard to make a really strong case for one that you absolutely don't want to be against. So I'll take those 2 at each way prices.
Okay, love it. And this is a potentially good segue, actually, just to give you a big shout out for your winner in the December Gold Cup last week, Ross, when Fugitive won. Obviously, Crambo in the same colours as Il Ridotto. Heartbreak for Jess there and myself. Actually, it was an incredibly frustrating moment on the line. But props to you, Ross. Fantastic. I gather you that's pretty much paid for Christmas, hasn't it?
Just about, yeah. We need to then pay for the new year, though, don't we? So let's keep kicking.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, TC. So Ross is going with Gal Road there, along with Botox Has. Where are your hard-earned readies going?
Yeah, well, I think this division needs a new face. I said it in the jumps preview pod right at the start of the campaign, and all of these veterans just aren't for me this time of year in these kind of races. I want to be looking for that new face, and there are a few new faces in this race. Gal Road being one that Ross has touched on, and I'm not against that idea. He's a good each way price, but I just find it hard to make the case that he's going to win the race. And when I punt, I rarely punt each way, and if I do, it's a horse that I think is way overpriced but can also win. And with Gal Road, I think you're probably fighting for second or third in here. West Balboa could be the new face on the block, but she's unproven at this level. She's only had 6 starts. She's not Roxana yet. I think people are really putting her into the mold of Roxana. She's a good horse. She's proven on flat tracks, but should she be favourite for the long walk? Probably not, and therefore I have to go against her. Maybe you could say the same thing about Crambo. However, I have a stance that he's way better than his official rating of 142 suggests. Actually, if you use official ratings as legit in here, he's the second worst horse in the race, but that's just not true whatsoever. He's open to so much improvement. Only had 1 start over 3 miles. That came at Haydock in the race that Ross was talking about. He wasn't given the best ride. Look, I'm also sad that Connor Brace has lost the ride, but it wasn't good last day, and they've quite clearly decided to switch to a more experienced pilot. Johnny Burke takes over, and I just think Crambo's criminally underrated, much like most of Fergal O'Brien's horses. O'Brien's horses, by the way, running out of their skin of late, so that has to be taken as note. Crambo, prior to last time out, where he ran very eye-catchingly to stay on in the closing stages, won the EBF final last year. Very good display that day. He came back and really impressed me on his comeback at Aintree as well, winning with a lot more in hand than the actual winning margin suggests. And I just think he could be the new star in this division. Now, the key word is could. Are you getting value based on potential? Probably not. But at the same time, I think he's the most logical and likely winner of this race.
Yeah, 28% strike rate for Fergal O'Brien in the last 14 days. Obviously, it's got a phenomenal army of horses to go to war with this season, and you make a good point. TC is often overlooked in the market. 7-2 potentially could be pretty generous here for a horse that looks well on the upgrade. Can I get a line from you both on Paisley Park, please? 13-2 at present.
He's too short, really, but he would be just brilliant to see him back. What a horse he's been, and to keep these old horses, particularly stayers, where they have to go through the well more than often. I think it's been a brilliant training performance to keep him at this level for this long. So yeah, my heart would be with him, but not my pocket.
Yeah, I agree with that. He's going to run to a mark of around 155. Probably he'll be outpaced at a certain part of the race, and that'll probably be his undoing. Look, I wouldn't be surprised if he stayed on for second or third, but to see him win would be a bit of a shock for me.
Champ of any interest, goes well fresh, had a wind up.
Coming off the layoff, you've always got to factor in Champ, but at the same time, he's an 11-year-old now. I don't know, first time out off the wind up isn't that angle I like. I prefer second time up. I know he goes well fresh and people are going to expect him to run well, but for me, Champ is a horse I am opposing.
Yes, same. I just think at that, if you're giving them wind ups at that age, you might just be slightly sort of firing in the dark, I think.
Yeah, fine. Okay, excellent. Now, I gather there's probably a nap and a next best from Ascot from UTC, and potentially for you as well, Ross.
Nap from Haydock, next best from Ascot, yeah.
Okay, fine. We'll leave those to the side. Anything else from Ascot, and then we'll perhaps have a look at Haydock.
No, nothing for me.
Okay, Haydock. Ross, do you want to take us away? The Tommy Whittle there, obviously, headlines proceedings. Yeah,
so didn't quite make my nap and next best, but I thought Encarde was really interesting. Ran really well at Warwick on his return. He's dropped right down the weights. He's had 3 wind-ups, I think, in about 8 runs. The first 2 obviously hadn't done much for him, but this last one seems to have done the trick. He loves Haydock. He loves the long straight there. He loves soft ground. He's down to a very attractive mark. The only thing that sort of stopped him making the nap or next best was I did think he was just a touch short. I was hoping he might be more of an each-way price, but I think he's a really interesting horse in the Tommy Whittle. And then also up there, 12.55, Alfie's Princess for Sam Thomas, a mare I really like. She just looks like a relentless galloper. Her display at Chepstow at the start of the season was amazing. The ground was desperate. She was far too free for most of the race. Still won pulling a cart. Went and backed that up at Exeter next time. I think she's a really smart mare for Sam Thomas. She goes in the 12.55. And then Bois Guilembert in the 2.05. The only concern with him is Jaguar is double entered. He's declared to run tomorrow at Ascot. I just wonder if the ground there got a bit quicker than they might want. Jaguar might come out from Ascot tomorrow and then run here instead, and that would put me off Bois Guillemberg. But if Jaguar runs tomorrow, Bois Guillemberg in the 205 on Saturday for Lucinda Russell, I think he's a smart horse. He ran placed behind Blukendaroo at Cheltenham earlier this season. Blukendaroo's obviously gone on and won that good race at Ascot. I think that form looks decent, and he's quite nicely handicapped.
Yeah, I'd have to give you a real shout for that Alfie's Princess, Ross. I like that as well. That run at Exeter in the novice really impressed me last time, beating Harry Fry's Queen Annie, who I think they think quite a lot of actually. So yeah, fingers crossed that she can go on and win again, rack up a hat trick there on Saturday in the 12:55 at Haydock in that listed novices hurdle. TC, anything for you at Haydock?
Nothing at Haydock. I've got one potentially at Lingfield, which is for Vanco in the 3:10, drawn inside and still one, back to a nice mark. George Rook rides. But look, I don't think Saturday's racing, aside from Ascot's, overly good. Haydock is just not a place I like to bet anyway. And I just thought the card there was pretty tough.
Okay, all good. Let's move on to Naps and Next Best then, TC. Do you want to take us away?
Sure, yes. Both the Nap and Next Best are at Ascot this week, as I said. My Nap is going to be wrapped up in May in the 12:40 at Ascot. This 5-year-old was one of Paul Nicholls' best bumper performance last year, winning his first 2 starts at prohibitive odds and then being beaten by a stable companion who was considered to be his leading light in the division. He's come back out this season and he's run twice over hurdles. He's been beaten at short prices on both occasions. Arguably, no excuses either time. He travelled nicely in both races, was ridden forward, and then was just overhauled late. They came over 2 miles 6.5 and 2 miles 5.5. Now he steps back up to 2 miles 7.5, which I think is going to suit. This horse has always been a stayer in the making. And actually a mark of 118 seems pretty fair, given the RPRs he's achieved so far. It's worth noting this is his handicap debut, and it's a pretty weak race aside from one runner from the Harry Derham yard. Now, the horse he was beaten by last time, trained by Dan Skelton, subsequently come out and won a grade 2 at Sandown, now rated 135, and looks a much stronger horse now than he did when he beat Wrapped Up in May. So the form has been franked. This is a much easier opportunity. I think Wrapped Up in May is almost a good thing in the 12:40 at Ascot. And the next best is going to be Iberico Lord in the 3:35 at Ascot. A horse I put up right at the start of the year in the Jumps preview podcast as one to follow, over 2.5 miles. I said that day he would win the Greatwood. He won the Greatwood, but they stick into the trip, which is interesting, the 2 miles. He's only gone at £8, which I think is pretty fair given how well he won that affair at Cheltenham. This kind of ground suits him. I think a flat track is perfectly fine as well. And albeit he's not going to get the same kind of gallop in the early stages, the quick pace that he needs to run at, I think this race lacks the depth that the Greatwood did. And that being said, he's going to improve over further, but I think he can still shine over this distance in this kind of grade right now. So Iberico Lord in the 3:35 at Ascot is the next best.
It's a really, really nice little race that actually, isn't it? I mean, I was very impressed with Iberico Lord last time, but I mean, who knows what this Willie Mullins run? It's only a matter of time's got. I mean, obviously, didn't do anything in the Greatwood, but there's lots of others sort of lurking in there, isn't there? I mean, Lucia promised so much, perhaps has disappointed a bit. Imposed Trois, Hansard. I mean, yeah, it looks a really, really nice little race actually.
Yeah, I think Hansard, if there is one danger to Iberico Lord, it's probably Hansard. He just needs to sharpen up his jumping. But he kind of did that last time on his season-away appearance when he was beaten by Rubo in a race that we covered. He wasn't great over his hurdles. If he can get more professional and jump properly, then 142 could be a nice month for him. Regarding only a matter of time, the Mullins horse, he's a bit of a rogue. I know Ross agrees with me on that.
Yeah, absolutely. There was lots to talk about, sort of, should Danny Mullins have done better? When horses do that, there is nothing you can do, and it's dirty. It's a horse that's looking to find a way out. And if they're doing that through the race, I would question what's he going to do come the finish. Is he really going to want to turn it all in? Because to me, it looks like he's not got his mind on the job at all.
Fascinating. Well, I mean, that's yeah, and the betting says the same, right? That's out to 13 to 2 now, and Iberico Lord well supported into 3 to 1. So let's see if they can get the job done for TC. Ross, Nap and next best, please, sir.
So Nap is from Haydock, and it was a winning Nap previously. So it comes in 240. It's real stone. One pulling a sleigh last time, over course and distance. gets heavy ground, which is absolutely essential to him. He went up £8, which in a season where the handicapper is lumping out £10 upwards on a regular basis, for the win, £8 wasn't all that much. There's a potential that the race perhaps fell apart behind him, but I just take the view that on testing ground, he was just far too good for them, and he broke them very early in the race. He had it won coming into the home straight, and your only nerves then is that Harry Skelton didn't go and do something daft over the fences in front of him. Tristan Doyle takes over and takes £5 off, and the usual line is X takes a very valuable £5 off. He takes £5 off. I'm not sold that over fences he's value for £5. It just for me can do a little bit better, but it is what it is. I love the horse. I would have been happy if they'd actually just run him off £8 higher. But he's got another small field. Doesn't look to have an awful lot of contest for the pace, which should suit him. And I just think he'll repeat the thing again. I think he'll just get them all at it far too early and should sluice home again, hopefully. And then the next best comes down at Ascot in the 150. Again, a horse I followed this year, Triple Trade. He ran really well at Cheltenham in November. The horse that was in front and perhaps going best of all came down at the last. Haydock Lingfield ran really well in the Tingle Creek. In Excelso Dio finished just behind Triple Trade, who finished second on that occasion. Excelso Dio was in third. He ran well enough at Cheltenham last weekend. Triple Trade then went back to Cheltenham in December and duly got the job done, up £1 and won very nicely. He's a very strong stayer over that 2-mile trip. They backed him up just 8 days later in the valuable handicap at Ascot, £100,000 handicap. Again, he ran really well. Just weakened in the closing stage, and I wonder whether that was just because the edge had been slightly taken off him with the run just a week before. But again, big run. He's off the same mark now of 135. He goes up in trip, and I think that's going to find more improvement. To me, he's been winning in spite of the trip, not because of the trip. Joe Tizzard is a little bit quiet. That's the one concern. But they've not been running abysmally. They've just not been having the winners. 2 mile 3, off a mark of 135. I think Triple Trade's got a great chance in the 150.
Yeah, must hold a fabulous chance there. I mean, 7 go to post, and it's a field of pretty rogue jumpers here. A lot of pulled up last time. Captain Mathan probably the main danger there, Ross.
Yeah, I thought they just looked very exposed, and he was the only horse that still appears to be on an upward trajectory, really.
Excellent. Okay, thank you both for your best bets of the weekend. Hopefully they can provide festive joy ahead of a Boxing Day extravaganza for all listeners. Bit of housekeeping for everyone. As always, new SBK customers can get £30 in free bets when you place your first £10 bet. T&Cs do apply at 18 plus. Right. Thank you both. Any last wishes for this weekend ahead of a really, really busy Christmas period?
Yeah, if the local Lidl could start stocking mince pies, that would just wrap up my weekend nicely. It's a pretty lonely Christmas in France with no mince pies to be found. What's
the French alternative to a mince pie, Ross? Is there anything?
They love their pastries, but they do love throwing almond at everything, and I'm not a big fan of the old almonds. So no, it's a Christmas where I don't pile on the pounds as much as I did back in the UK.
And TC, what's Frankie Dettori left under the Christmas tree for you?
Well, God knows what Frankie Dettori is doing right now. Lots of random things is the answer to that one. No, my biggest wish, aside from the racing on Saturday, is that Gerwyn Price wins the Darts World Championship. That's a little side bet for you all. Luke Littler was fantastic yesterday. We're recording this on Thursday. Did you guys watch that? 16.
I can't believe that guy is 16. I'm not having that under any circumstances.
40 with 3 kids.
It reminded me of that great scene from brilliant film Bad Boys, where they question how old Reggie is when he knocks on the door to go out with the daughter. So yeah, I'd be stunned if he was 16.
Well, we do. Listen, we love the darts regardless, and that's a little side wager for everyone over the festive period. Right, thank you all for listening. We'll be back in a couple of days' time with a look ahead to all of the festive racing action. Best of luck this weekend.